Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Soaring High with Downs number 11, Disciplining a Special Needs Child. So in certain ways, disciplining any child has its own science to it, and so too with a special needs child. But in certain ways, there are differences as well. So anytime a child feels like doing anything he wants to do, there has to be some kind of way to discipline. Ideally, we are taught lishma. You shouldn't talk chutzpahdik to the Rebbe because it's not right. Covered a Torah. It's a mitzvah to have covered for the Rav. That's the ideal. You go ahead and you should clean up because Hakar Satov, your mom gave you a beautiful supper and she's simply asking you, or even if she doesn't ask you, to put the dishes in the sink. Hakarat Tov, appreciation. Yashav Tov, be decent and proper. Father goes ahead, gets you something nice. That's a lot of money, for money that he earned and he worked so hard. He gets you a new jacket. Thank you, Dad. Just decent seed that we want to educate our children with. However, it's not always so simple. And a child goes ahead and hits another child. He's not listening to the fact that, why are you going in and beating up the kid 3 years younger than you? He didn't do anything wrong. And just speaking and talking and educating doesn't work all the time. So we need other means. That's what the Torah tells us. Always be involved in teaching, in doing mitzvahs, even lo lishma, not for the best motivation, ulterior motivation, and that will hopefully bring a person. So we need to go ahead and have the ability to educate lo lishma as well, where it's ulterior motivation. We have to figure out how to do it in a good way, a compassionate way, a strong way, a firm way, in a proper way, in a kind way. So with Shlomo, for example, he has a rigorous schedule every morning. From davening, that was with his friends, Kita Vav, 6th grade, he puts his tefillin on. And then in the morning he could have a shiur from 8:15 to 9:20 in his room. It's one-on-one, and 9:20 to 10 o'clock is the second shiur of the day. 10:20, 11:30 is another shiur. And then break, and then another shiur after that. And then 1:20 to 2 o'clock, and then 5, 6 shiurim, one-on-one. In certain ways, that's harder than a typical student, because a typical student is 1 in 22 kids, 1 in 30 kids. He can space out, he can do other things. Here it's one-on-one. There's no time to space out. So it's not easy. So let's say he decides, I don't want to go into class. I'm going to hang out on the basketball court. Or I'll go into class, I'll learn 5 minutes, and then I'm leaving. So other kids might have a tough time with class, whether it's a one-on-one or a regular class, but you're usually not going to have the audacity simply to just walk out of the class and say, I don't care what you say, Rebbe. But special needs kids don't always have that system where they're filtering through all the feelings and thoughts. And someone might decide in the middle of a class, I'm leaving, I'm not interested. I want to get a drink. I want to eat. I want to play ball now. I had enough of learning. So on the one hand, you want to try to educate and teach. It's not nice, not respectful. We have to have kovei itim l'Torah. We set times for Torah, and all that is beautiful. It doesn't always work. So there needs to be a discipline system, in my opinion. And in certain ways, every child needs some kind of a discipline. But I think for regular children, there might be more room to try to talk and explain. But I don't know if it's a qualitative difference as much as a quantitative difference. Maybe there's more times that you could try to work and explain with a regular child. But a special needs child, there might be more times that you need to employ other kind of mechanisms. So the obvious question is, what mechanisms do I employ? And I'd like to look into that in the next year. So just to sum, all education, for all children, we always are aiming for the top, aiming for the Shema. Well, you do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the proper thing to do. It's a mitzvah from Hashem. And you don't employ fire and brimstone. That's not the ideal. But there is a concept called lo lishma, where you do employ other things as well, other fears and consequences. And that's for all children, and special needs children probably more. I'd like to look into the next year, some of the different things that I do, what works in my specific case, and hopefully it could be helpful for anyone in whatever situation one finds themselves in. Shalom.